Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Rifki and you can call me Rifki. And here I'm going to explain about my analysis about the book with the title Years End by Jhumpa lahiri. Okay, check it out. The first summary. Summary is the main point of the story. The story is talk about Hosik and his family. His father decided to remarry after his mother died, caused cancer. Hosik is unable to accept his father's decision, but his father never forced him to agree about his decision. Hosik and his new family experienced many problems, all of which were caused his own attitude. However, slowly, day by day, everything got better. Even though at the end of the story, Hosik decided to live alone without his family. He decided to stay in a different place with his family. And next, the theme. Theme is defined as a main idea or underlying meaning of the literary work. The theme is about stepmothers, a child who has to adapt to his new family because his father decided to remarry after his mother's died. Children who actually disagree with their father's decision to remarry cause their family life to experience a lot of problems. They expected him to say only that he had returned safely. Now then I know he had a stepmother and two stepsisters who succeed. Okay, now setting. Setting is the time and place when and where of the story is literary element of literature used in novel, so stories, plays, film, and the other. For the first, physical setting. The physical setting is where a story takes place. Years End is set in the north shore of Massachusetts. Hosik's house. First place is Hosik's house. Almost half of the story is taken in his house. We can find a lot of dialogue scenes that occur in this house. The author points out the outward situation and discomfort between Hosik and his family during life in this home, in this house. I'd like for you to call me Mamoni, she said. His Hosik's stepmother said in Bengali. Her voice was of a lower pitch than my mother's, with a faint huskiness that was oddly calming. Do you have any objection to that? She asked his kindly, smiling very of my accent, and I shook my head, not smiling back. Second physical setting is the Dunkin' Donuts. It is a setting of place that taken when they go to buy some donuts. They seem placed that neither option will be denied to them and get out of the car, holding hands as they walk across the parking lot. Dunkin' Donuts was part of shopping plaza and the lot was crammed with cars of last-minute Christmas shoppers. But Dunkin' Donuts was empty, so they canceled to buy it. The next is historical setting. This will include this. It will include things like the time period of the event, country or place or society in which it takes place, or the events that are happening at the time outside of the story. For the first, Cambridge, Massachusetts, is the part when Hosik told us where he was born. With dialogue said, my father's first job was in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which was where I was born 3 years later. Second is Mumbai. It is the part when Hosik told us a story about his mother. In Mumbai, my mother had always thrown a party on Christmas Day. The next is setting of atmosphere. Atmosphere is a type of feeling that readers get from a narrative. based on details such as setting, background, object, and foreshadowing. Setting is in winter season when they preparing for Christmas. Dialect we can know from this dialect. Christmas, my father bought me a sweater and a shirt. Okay, plot. Next is plot. Plot is the literary device that writers use to structure what happens in the story. First is exposition. So next, rising action, climax, failing action, and resolution. Okay, from first exposition. This is your book's introduction, where you introduce your character, establish the setting, and begin to introduce the primary conflict or your story. I started when Khosik knew that his father remarried. My father decided it when he go to visit his grandfather. I know from this dialogue. I know that Melanger would bear to go for walks and that since my mother's death, we barely slept at all. I had not spoken to my father in several weeks. He had been in Calcutta visiting my grandparents. All four of them were still alive. And when I picked up the phone, left for me banging upside down by its cord, I expected him to say only that. Only he had to turn safely. Now that I know Bet had stepmother and two stepsisters. Okay, the next is rising action. The rising action normally begins with an exciting incident or a moment that set your story into action. Rising action began when his stepmother and her daughters will come and live with them together in his house. They arrive in 2 weeks. You'll see them when you come home for Christmas. My father said to me, to Jose, her English is not so good. What are you doing? Jose said to his father. The leopard part startled, realizing I was there, spread out on the great carpet, arranged like a game of solitaire. There are about a dozen photographs of my mother taken from the box my father had slayed up and hidden after her death. Next. Next is climax. The climax of the plot is the story's central turning point, the moment of peak tension or conflict. It's the main point. The night Kosik found his sisters playing with the box full of his mother's picture. He is very angry. He grabbed Rupa and Pew until they cry. In his dialogue we can know. What the hell do you think you are doing? Kosik said to Rupa and Pew. Rupa looked at me. Her dark eyes flashing and began to cry. I walked into the room and picked up the pictures, putting them face down on my old dresser. Then I grabbed Rupa by the shoulders from where she sat crouched on the floor, shaking her forcefully. The next is flashing action. It's time to start moving toward a more satisfying conclusion. This is the time to start resolving conflicts and plots so your story doesn't fit rushed in the last few chapters. Jose decided to leave his home by car. He had been thinking of running away from this. But no ideas where to go. But I got on the buku and started driving north. I quickly left Massachusetts, driving through a small piece of New Hampshire and over the bridge into mine. Everything is mess in its condition. Next is resolution. Resolution is the end of your story where you can tie up the final ends and bring your story to its happy or tragic ending. He never came back again until they graduated. Finally, he decided to live alone. He doesn't join with his family. His father and family moved into Boston and sell his home. His father invited Housik to live with them, but Housik refused. But Hosik refused his father's invitation. His father said to Hosik, leave for Florida the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow. Do you plan to return by then? His father invited him. I don't think so, Hosik said. You'll get back to college on time? Yes. You'll speak in a few weeks then. He hung up the phone. He bet not bother, who asked me where I'd gone. Socialism is full of reality and vulnerable to that. Socialism is a problem that affects many people within a society. It is a group of common problems in the present day. Society at once the many people strive to solve. Family issues are also included in socialism because they can have an impact on values and norms in society. The issue that I can take from his story is about the social situation in a family that is not harmonious between the main character and his step family. Feeling disappointed and unable to accept reality makes the main character unable to act well. The social and physiological condition of the main character are what cause many problems in the story. Here I'm going to tell you about the characters. The character is a person, animal, being, character, or thing in a story. Writers use character to perform the action and speak dialogue. Hosik, the first is Hosik. Hosik is the main character of this story. He is the son of his parent. The next is Hosik's father. He is a kind and a wise father, I think. We can see from this part of dialogue, I don't ask you to care for her, even to like her, father said. You are a grown man. You have no need for her in your life, as I do. I only ask eventually that you understand my decision. The next is Chitra. Chitra is Hosik's stepmother. She is beautiful and kind. She was closer to my age than my father. I had known this beforehand, but seeing her was a shock. Her hair was long and dark, and she had a broad nose and otherwise pleasant face. So it was too round for me to find a beautiful. She was taller than I'd expect her to be. Little taller than my mother. Rupa and Piu, they are not Chitra. Rupa is 10 years old, and Piu is 7 years old. Her doctors were 7 and 10. Next is characterization. Characterization is used when the author tells the audience with the personality of the character is, and it is usually used in literary works. The author using physical description as the characterization method of the story. We can know it from the part when Hosik described about his stepmother. She was closer to my age than to my father's. I had known this beforehand, but seeing her was a shock. Her hair was long then and dark, and she had a broad nose and otherwise pleasant face. Though it was too round for me to find beautiful. She was taller than I expected her to be. A little taller than my mother. Okay, maybe that's all. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any mistake that I have done. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.